couple weeks, unless I'm not feeling very well. And Kaitlyn knows that. She'll text me, or I'll text her and say, "Hey, I've got a health issue going on," and we get a chance on the when that doesn't happen to connect and talk about the city agenda. The city council meeting coming up tonight, 6 p.m. at City Hall, and the agenda comes out on Fridays. We get a chance to look over it over the weekend and then talk a little bit about it on this segment on the Morning Zoo. So, good morning, Kaitlyn. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. There's a lot, it seems, on the city council agenda tonight that I would say some impact the community, some are the community's interested in because of some things that have been going on for months. So it's kind of all over the place. There is an opportunity for the members of the community to attend the city council meeting coming up tonight and be able to voice their opinion at the beginning and at the end of the meeting as well. There's a closed session tonight. We're going to chat about that over the next couple of minutes, and it seems like it's kind of a full meeting for you. But how has things been going so far for 2026? Now that we're kind of 2.5 weeks into the year now.
Things are going well. We've got new committee appointments. We have so we just have a different structure to our committees, which counselors are on which committee, and we're getting ready to hold our first committee meetings for the month, and working through some of those changes, and overall things are going well.
With the committee level changes, is that usually something that is based on the decision of the council member, or is it based on the city council as a whole of just trying to change things up a little bit? Do you mind kind of giving us a little bit of reasoning behind that?
Sure. So committee appointments are actually made by the mayor. So Mayor Barnett makes the committee appointments, and they're approved by city council. But usually it's a conversation, or really a discussion piece for the mayor to work through, and finalize those committee assignments. Council members certainly have an opportunity to say if they want to participate in a certain committee or not, but they work through that process collaboratively.
Okay. All right. Thanks for explaining that. We appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Tonight, when the community goes to city council for the city council meeting, or watches it, you have the ability for them to watch it online as well. They're going to see sort of a break in the action because you have a closed session that's going to take part. And it looks like, at least from the agenda, that closed session will happen at the very beginning of the meeting. Take us through that closed session, if you don't mind, and anything that has sort of advanced, and as well anything that you can share with us.
Sure. The closed sessions we usually try to hold at the end of the meeting, because unless there is a particular action item that's going to happen after the closed session, it just allows the public to go home. We try to get through all of the public comment, the rest of the agenda. But in this particular incident, our attorney is traveling pretty far. So we are just moving that agenda item up after the first public comment rather than having that at the end. So there will be that break that you referred to earlier. We are going into closed session to discuss settlement strategies with ASR Real Estate, which is the company that owns Andy's. We are, I guess we'll find out what City Council has to say in that closed session. There is this afternoon, there is a status conference at the Mason County Court on the case, but we are hoping to continue to work through this outside of the court process.
Okay. And that was that next question I had for you is where is the angle that you're, from a city standpoint, trying to achieve? Nobody wants to do that long drawn out through the court system approach. So I guess the question I have is, have the attorneys been able to communicate regularly? Have you seen any sort of light at the end of the tunnel? What is that process at this point?
I mean, everyone is communicating. We're working through the challenges, and I'm hoping that we're close to an agreement here.
Okay. And are you going to be able to share that agreement later today at the city council meeting? Is it open at this point that you could share some of the information on it? Where does that stand?
I still can't talk about it yet, and I doubt that city council will be discussing it this evening. If we are successful with a settlement, then we will, a settlement outside of court is what I'm referring to. If we come to an agreement, once that agreement has been made, then yes, those documents would become public.
Do you see any potential action items tonight in regards to this? You go into the closed session. Could there be some action items in there? Will there be some action items outside of the closed session?
We could potentially have an action item after the closed session to either finalize these consent judgments, these agreements, or to go back to working between both parties and bring something else forward to city council for them to look at. So that is a possible action item tonight on the agenda. Yes.
Okay. And for those that are listening or viewing, there hasn't been any construction movement there because once lawsuits are filed and everything else that was put in place, things just paused in regards to that property. Do you see with tonight's information? I guess, and again, it can go either way. But with tonight's information, that we could see in the next few weeks or next month or so, things starting or some activity down there, or do you foresee that this is going to still take some time?
Everyone's goal in this process has been to get the business open. They have worked through some winter challenges. We've helped coordinate access to the building over the winter so they can winterize things and work on a few necessary items. But other than that, like you stated, all work is halted. So hopefully as soon as we come to this agreement, we can get that moving again.
Okay. Any other information that you would like to share in regards to the closed session, to this topic itself, that maybe will help, put a rumor or two to bed or to give the community some more information? Because obviously there's been a lot of chatter about this for months and months, but is there anything else that you want to share today or can share?
Not at this time. I mean, I'll just continue to say what I have been saying, and that is we would like Andy's to be open. It's best for everyone. It's best for downtown. It's best for the city. It's certainly best for the county. And that's our goal right now is to come to a mutual agreement and get Andy's open.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll certainly follow up with that in the future. It sounds like there is some progress being made one way or another, but we'll find out some more information potentially at tonight's meeting or at least in the next couple of weeks as things move forward. You have for yourself personally something on the agenda tonight, and that is your contract agreement with the city of Ludington. When you were hired in, as we were talking off the air, that was a 1-year contract, and now it's time for a renewal of that. What goes into renewing a contract for you, either from your advantage point, we'll start there, and standpoint, and also from the city's viewpoint and sort of, their evaluation, if that's part of that?
Yeah, it certainly is. My contract auto renewed at the end of September or early October, because that's the way the contract language is written. It was a 1-year contract, and my 1 year was up at the end of either the end of September, early October when that contract was initially signed. So then we went into the city council did a yearly performance evaluation, and then based on that performance evaluation, we then led into contract renewal discussions. And where we kind of landed was a 2-year contract is being proposed instead of a 1-year contract. So that's a little tricky with the way our charter is set up, because if it's a contract for more than 1 year, it's proposed as an ordinance, not just a contract. So there would be an ordinance that would go side by side with this approval of the contract. And then other than that, there wasn't, to the depending on how you want to look at it, there were some significant changes. Those changes were removal of anything related to when I moved here. There was like some first time opportunities in the contract, so those have been removed. And then I believe the only other change was the cost of living increase in the annual salary.
Do you feel like the last year and a few plus months you've assimilated to the Ludington area? You feel like this is home? I know between you and your family, it's getting accustomed to traveling, all of that. But what do you feel? How do you feel you are at right now in regards to being the city manager for the next 2 years and potentially beyond that?
That's a really great question, Chris. My husband and I were just talking about this over the holidays, and this was our second Christmas here in Ludington. Last year, we had just moved and relocated, and we're finally in a home of our own rather than renting. That happened earlier in the spring. My son started school, so that has certainly made us feel more involved. And it's, sometimes it's hard to make connections with the work schedule that we carry. So my son being over at LAS has certainly given us some opportunities to meet more people, be out in the community a little bit more rather than just work-related events. And he's getting involved in after-school activities. So that's made us pretty excited and just allowed us to meet people that we, quite frankly, wouldn't have been able to if he wasn't in the school system yet.
So it's good to be able to see that relationship broadening there, because sometimes when you take over the helm as you are with the city manager position there, you could get buried with a lot of paperwork and work and everything else that comes into place. So it's good to hear that there is that extracurricular side of things. That's that relationship with the community beyond a meeting, beyond an approval, beyond an ordinance, and everything else that comes along there. You have on the agenda tonight, and if you're just joining us here on both Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9, we're talking with Kaitlyn Aldrich, City Manager of Ludington this morning. You have the Mayor Pro-Tem that will be decided on tonight. That process pretty standard. Is there anything that you can share with us in regards to that?
As far as I'm aware, the Mayor Pro-Tem appointment is an appointment that's made on an annual basis. And that's a decision made by the mayor as well. And I believe that we're not expecting any changes for 2026. Councilor Sherry Stibbits has served in that role. And I believe that is what we are looking to continue to do in 2026.
All right. You have the Christy Zimmerman coming over from the Chamber Alliance of Mason County to talk about the Economic Development Annual Report tonight. Before even talking about what the report is, I'd rather just jump to what you expect to hear or what you want to hear from a city council standpoint, from a city manager standpoint. Sometimes these reports are, I'll say it this way, kind of, kicking the can down the street a little bit. And we just kind of hear the same thing over and over and over again. Do you expect that there is something new that is going to be able to be shared with the community tonight?
I wouldn't necessarily say anything that's surprising, but I will say that the economic development report and the work that that the city and other municipalities here in the county do with Christy Zimmerman in the right place is extremely beneficial. We have, there's measurements, there's goals and objectives of the economic development group. And Christy works really hard to meet and exceed those objectives and measurements. And we are looking forward to that update tonight. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but they have moved the needle when it comes to housing. We've had some really successful conversations county-wide with developers, and I think that will be a good highlight for this evening. And there's also just some opportunities with partnering with the right place and engaging our youth and those sorts of things that Christy, I'm sure, will touch on this evening. So I don't expect it to be a presentation that otherwise someone might want to snooze through, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
I expect it to be engaging and encouraging, that we're moving forward here in Mason County.
I'm curious, a few years ago, they had a presentation at the Ludington Area Center for the Arts, and we're excited about, housing and going out and going to different lots and throughout the county and looking at housing and breaking it down and what the challenges were. Has anybody from that kind of, hey, this is our vision moving forward to now, have been able to compare what the vision was then versus now and see if there was any movement on that needle? Or is that what you kind of expect tonight's report to maybe hint on just a little bit?
That's exactly what I expect from tonight. That needle has moved, and I think Christy is eager to share that feedback with the community.
All right, excited to see that and hear that tonight. Let's talk about, you've got a pretty neat venture that has happened in Ludington in regards to sitting in the saunas and then jumping in Lake Michigan. And that is on the city council agenda for the night tonight. Take us through that.
It is. So Saunaty has two mobile wood-fired sauna trailers. And I believe they've hosted two events already down at the Loomis Street boat launch. And they are looking to continue to do that into 2026. Specifically, they have targeted January 31st as their next event date and are looking to get that approved, with a few other dates in February and March, and potentially, I believe, into early April, weather dependent. And it just gives, folks an opportunity to be outside in northern Michigan and also be warm in their saunas. And then if you are an individual that likes that kind of shocking cold, you are welcome to hop into Lake Michigan, and cool off before you hop back into the sauna again. So just something, a service, an opportunity here that we don't really have, and they're just looking to continue to provide that. And like I said, they would like to continue to use Loomis Street Boat Launch for that, as their location.
Well, and there's been reports that it's good, that's shocking to your system. There's some health benefits to that. So looking forward to seeing and hearing more about that coming up tonight. The social district seems to be, is the right word, expanding down West Ludington Avenue. Is that a part of it, or is it just adding more into that social district from an approval standpoint?
From an approval standpoint, it's adding more into the social district. It's not expanding the social district by any means. There's an opportunity for, let's see, peer-to-peer picnics,
Mhm.
to obtain a liquor license. And this is the process that they have to go through, is to first kind of prove that they are part of that social district. Their address is within the social district, and that they're eligible to get this type of social district liquor license to begin with.
All right.
So they're really just looking for council to approve that part of their application to the state of Michigan.
Okay. All right. Good information there. For those citizens that might be struggling a little bit, that have fallen on some hard times, there's a poverty exemption policy that's going to be discussed tonight. Take us through that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. We have a poverty exemption policy that's been in place for several years. Most municipalities do. Wherever your taxing jurisdiction is, many have this poverty exemption policy, or they all do. The only thing that's changing this year are the income limits. So the income limits usually go up every year with inflation as the state or the federal government provides us that information. And that's what we're looking to do here, is update those income guidelines. And it basically allows anyone who can provide documentation that they fall within that poverty exemption, that their property taxes are waived for that year.
Okay. All right. And the way that they can reach out to the city, just stopping in, or is there documents online that they can find in regards to this?
There are documents online, but they're welcome to come in and talk to the city treasurer, Renee Kathamer, and she can help folks work through that process.
All right. All right. Good information there. It sounds like it's going to be a packed city council meeting tonight. You've resolved, it sounds like, some things that are on the agenda. One being some FOIA requests there that the city is trying to work through. You're coming into 2026 with a little bit of some issues on the police department side of things, moving from 2025 to 2026. We haven't addressed it too much, but I'd like to ask a couple of questions, if you don't mind, so that maybe there's some clearing of the air. I won't go too much into the weeds here because there's been, a lot covered on it. And I think there's some time that, over time it will come out as well. We saw that the city put out the statement around the holidays in regards to the traffic stop by Officer Mendez of the Ludington Police Department. My question is not necessarily uh, the story itself, but more of I guess questioning some of the back end things, and this kind of goes before you were in place. And I think the city, I think the residents understand that Mitch Foster's name was on a memorandum during this time. Um, and so my question is this: as a city manager, and I'm going to put you on the hot seat for just a moment here, but you can understand where we have a previous city manager that did not disclose this publicly when this happened, um, decided to move on, go to West Shore Community College, all of that, and in roles that were important. Do you feel as a city manager that the city should have addressed it differently? Actions could have been taken, because I think everybody that looks at where the statement when the statement came out, that their first inclination was, well, why was it not disclosed back then? Why did it take so long? Do you feel as the city manager that things should have been done differently?
I think hindsight is 2020, Chris, and it's very easy to look back on a situation and say, well, we could have done this, we should have done this. So I don't think it's very fair for me to try to reflect on the process that happened 18 months ago. I wasn't there, I wasn't present. Certainly, circumstances have changed since then, and all of those things matter. And I wasn't there. I wasn't present. What I can say is this: the officers that were involved made a mistake. They made a poor decision, and within a few hours into the early morning, they were cognizant and recognized that they made that mistake and came forward on their own. They brought the issue forward to the captain and recognized that how they proceeded was not obviously proper protocol. And while this is new to the public, it happened a year and a half ago, and those officers have worked extremely hard to have their trust and their faith restored here at the city and as an employee, as a police officer, and they have certainly done so. They've gone above and beyond to show us internally that this was a one-time mistake and is not something that will be repeated. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And I understand that to the public that this incident is unfair and seems yes, there was special treatment given. But once we are handed this incident, right, like the chief and the captain were the following morning, there's a process of how that is handled, and it was handled exactly how it should have been. Releasing the records to the public, that's also such a difficult subject to navigate. After the incident happened, it became a internal personnel issue. And then it was up to the Michigan State Police and to the prosecutor's office to determine if there was enough evidence to potentially charge the officer with any sort of misconduct. And that didn't happen. The prosecutor declined to move forward with charges. So if that were the case, if it would have proceeded in a different direction, it absolutely would have been public. But since no charges were actually filed, it continued to stay an internal personnel issue. And our policy, and most employers' policies, is to not discuss personnel matters. We've got to provide resources and opportunities for our employees to grow and support them. And that's what we've really done for the last 18 months. And that's the direction that we continue to move. Is to allow these folks to do their job, do it well, show up, be out in the community, be a resource, and just be good human beings. And that's what we're talking about here.
You mentioned a few moments ago that they identified that there was a mistake that was made. They identified that pretty quickly. My other question is, have you taken the steps? Do you have to take the steps from a city manager standpoint, or ask the question to the chief of police if there are any other incidents that have happened that a year from now or 6 months from now you might have to explain in the public's eye as well? Has that question been asked?
I mean, not really. And that's because as an organization, if we're constantly looking at what may or may not have happened in the past, we'll never get anything done. So from the city's perspective, we're moving forward full steam ahead. And that's generally how we work. I'm sure that something could have happened in 1960 or 1970, and it could not be police related. It could be something else internal or part of admin or city councilor or who knows. But we all have those missteps, and I'm not looking to dwell on them. And the city is not either. And we want to support our people. We want to service the community, and just be a good governmental agency and provide the resources and services that we're required to do so.
I guess my reference to that question is the old cliche of the buck stops here. When an incident like this happens, where does
it stop?
yeah. Does it stop at your seat, or does it stop at the chief's seat?
In general, it would stop at my seat. I mean, the chief is involved and holds his folks accountable appropriately, and we have to work through CBA, collective bargaining agreements, and the unions and those sorts of things. But from a cultural perspective, it stops with the chief and it stops with me. But the chief has a very high expectation for his department, and I believe wholeheartedly that they provide an excellent service. And again, what I'll just continue to come back to is at the end of the day, we're human beings, and there are policies and procedures that we have to follow internally, and just like MSP had to, and the prosecutor's office. This is the situation that we have been dealt. But again, 18 months ago, as an organization, we've moved beyond this.
Understandable. And I have a question or two, and then we can move on. This was put out during the holidays, maybe because there was some pressure, maybe because the holidays, news cycles are very low in regards to that. Um, but people can speculate and do that. I guess the only question I have left is this: how do you give the community the reassurance that that there isn't going to be favoritism, or them treated this way versus a different way? Because there was some treatment that was different in that particular situation. And I think that has come up in comment after comment after comment out there is, unless you're part of the police department, unless you're, so on and so forth. How do you give that confidence to the community, and not it just be another talking point or such? How do you, from the city manager standpoint of Ludington, be able to do that?
So I want to back up a little bit and offer some context as to why we released the documentation. There were some public accusations made that the chief of police covered up the incident that happened 18 months ago. Specifically, that Chief Jones covered up this incident. And then we also received a FOIA request for some of the information. So we were releasing the documents because that public accusation was made against the chief of police. Yes, initially a cover-up happened, right? There was some privileges that were provided to this officer that other folks would not have been given. But as soon as that was reported internally to the chief and the captain, there was no cover-up. The investigation proceeded exactly how it was supposed to. And I know that's extremely frustrating for the public, but we can only operate as administrators, as chiefs, as managers, with the parameters that we've been given. And those were to conduct an internal investigation and then to also hand it over to an independent law enforcement agency, which in this case was Michigan State Police, and allow them to do their due diligence and decide if they would like to move forward with any charges with the prosecutor. So the way that excuse me, the way that press release went out was not to say in general that there wasn't a cover-up. It was particularly addressing the fact that the chief of police was covering something up. And again, I know I wasn't there, but from the documentation that I've read, the conversations that I've had, everything was handled after the initial incident after the officer was pulled over and given a ride home, once they self-reported, everything, the investigation was handled exactly how it should have been. And I hope that the public, that the city of Ludington residents, that the folks in Mason County, who we sometimes partner with the sheriff's office depending on the situation, that they have some faith and confidence restored, that administratively we are holding folks accountable, and that we are showing up every day doing the job we're supposed to be doing. And that's really what we have to do to restore public trust and confidence, is to get out there, to be reliable, to be a resource, to be friendly, to be accessible. And that is what the police department has been doing and intends to continue to do, to hopefully restore some of that trust here in Ludington.
Well, and there is truly a difference when you do interact with these officers, and I've had a chance personally to interact with all of them that were involved in that situation, is that there's a difference between character and actions. And I think you mentioned it for sure during our conversation that some of the actions might not have been the best actions in that situation, but it shouldn't take away from the character of these individuals either. We see them protecting the community. We see them as good people, and I think that sometimes it's hard to kind of break between those two when one thing happens over the other. I wanted to talk about this morning. I certainly, as you probably can see, I have certain viewpoints because obviously, this was on the news in other areas. You want to be able to invite people to the Ludington area, be able to give them sort of the feeling that that stuff that happens in other areas doesn't happen there. So I'm glad you addressed it today. I'm sure there's going to be continued conversations in regards to this as it goes along. But as you mentioned, it was 18 months ago. You've tried to address it as much as possible. And you hopefully today have addressed I think the most important question, which is, can the citizens of Ludington have confidence in their government and their police department? And hopefully that will continue to maybe shine through as we go along. Is there anything else in regards to this that you'd like to comment on in this situation?
Not really. I mean, we've touched on quite a few things. I really just want to reiterate that that 2 of the 3 officers involved are continue to be employed by the city of Ludington. They both still work in the police department, and they have, since I started here as a city manager just over a year ago. I have been very impressed by their work ethic, the honor, and quite frankly, the trust and their ability to be excellent officers and also good human beings at the end of the day. And I know that they will continue to show up and work hard, and do an excellent job for the city of Ludington. And unless something changes, and I'm not talking about for those 2 officers in particular, I'm talking about organizationally wide, that unless an employee shows or demonstrates otherwise, we want them here working for us. And I'm proud that both of them are officers here. It was an unfortunate incident that happened, but they have the full support of the city behind them, because we would like them to succeed, and as an organization, we have to succeed.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to my comment of the character side of them. When you have a conversation with these officers, they're they're humble, they're supportive, they're in the community to protect and to serve, and so that's important. I have, I think, gone over everything that's on the agenda for the night tonight and some extra. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us in regards to this. I think, as we have mentioned, every time transparency is good. Information, when it goes out into the social media realm, sometimes it's important to help clarify some things, and so we are an outlet to be able to do that. And sometimes a tough question or two might be asked as well. And so I appreciate you taking the time to respond to those questions too. Kaitlyn, you have the city council meeting tonight, 6 p.m. The community is welcome to come out, voice their opinions, and learn about all the information on the agenda for the night tonight. And we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll chat in a couple of weeks from now, and continue to move forward with helping to address any issues, or in some cases be able to spread some good news here and there. And I think that's always a fun part of our conversation as well. Kaitlyn, thanks for
Yes.
taking some time with us today.
Thanks for having me on this morning, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have these conversations with you, which then extend into the public. And having this platform is an incredible resource for us. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. And have an amazing Monday. We will talk with you soon. And if you missed any part of this conversation, you can watch it right there on our Facebook pages, WMOM and Hot Country Hits, as well as our YouTube